Hello everyone, this is my tutorial for plugin porting from Escape Velocity Classic to Escape Velocity Nova, in particular for the Classic plugin. To start off with, you'll need EV-Edit by Ben Chess, and you can download it here from the Ambrosia Software website, although I have version 3.3, so it might be worthwhile to hunt for it. There's the Consolidation plug that I made many years ago in the main menu, and you can see all the different assets that you can edit there, including ships, which is what we're going to do. We're going to port the Astex Interceptor into EV Nova. So there's the ship editing window, and the easiest way to do this is to use simple text, because simple text is completely compatible with Windows as well as with the new simple text in Mac OS X, and most of that is text, of course. And you can access the descriptions and the sprites with the buttons above. There's the sprite. Notice there's a handy export button where you can export a pict, which we'll have to convert later. But by and large, exporting, very straightforward. You use the little pull up and down menu in the lower right to switch between the different images associated with it. You'll need the sprite, the shipyard image, and the target image there, and export all of those to pict. And then you transfer the files to your PC or modern Mac with a flash drive. That's the easiest way, or whatever other means you've come up with. This is one of the biggest challenges of porting, actually, because the file systems on the old Macs are rather different from today. So here I am in Windows, opening the picts using QuickTime. The QuickTime free version can't convert them, though, so the easiest way to do that is to hit Print Screen and then paste the screenshot into Microsoft Paint, where you can crop it. So you paste it in, you double this after you've doubled the size in QuickTime, zoom in, select, and crop. And it's really that simple, because once you export that, you get a bitmap. So save it as a bitmap. It's good to have a project folder to keep everything in order, because you probably are going to have more than one project you're going to want to do. You can see already I have other folders within the folder there. So I close that and I go to the next image. The next image will be the sprite. So you double the size to make it easier to crop, but you'll want to downsize this later, because then it will be the wrong size for the game. You can't really zoom in to crop this one, so it's usually necessary to clean it up in a photo editor after you've exported the bitmap. I use GIMP. I mean, if you watched my other videos, you know that. But Photoshop, of course, would work just as well and maybe better. So here I am cropping it. And that's a crude first crop. We'll save that as the sprite. Then we move to the shipyard image after this. Same way as the others. Double the size, print screen, Microsoft Paint, and then crop. So there, I'm putting in the file name. I've chosen the simplest file names, of course, Astex Interceptor, Sprite, Astex Interceptor, Target, Astex Interceptor, Shipyard. And here I have my simple text file with the data of many ships that I'm porting, but there's the Interceptor, the description, the escort description, and the specs. So then I go into EV New, which is sort of the modern equivalent to EV Edit, and I go to the Ship editing part, and I copy one of the existing ships, because sometimes this is much easier than creating a completely new file. You can reuse some of the settings this way. In this case, it's a very similar ship. It's the Astex gunboat. So I change the name, and then I change the specs, which are different. I'm doing the names first because they're easy to forget, bottom line. Now, of course, the list of the specs is different in EV-New from EV-Edit, so you have to hop around filling in the settings. But if you have the original settings, you have the original settings. So the shield recharge generally has to be multiplied by 10 for Nova. For some reason, they've calculated it differently. The turn also is good to multiply by 10 also, because that's also wrong if you port it directly. And sometimes I fiddle with it a little bit to get it to work properly. Turning's already pretty good. I'm only going to upgrade it by a little bit here. I'm not going to even touch the original spec. Some of them, of course, are exactly the same. Fixed guns, fixed turrets, all that sort of thing. Free mass, incidentally, is the weapon space. It used to be called weapon space, and it's now called free mass to sound more technical. It's all junk science anyway, so it's kind of dumb, but there it is. So the price goes in then. And the death delay. In other words, how long it takes the ship to blow up after it's been mortally wounded. The explosions are references to graphics, of course, for the game. Then you have the mass, and you have the length, of course, and you have the crew. These all matter for a whole range of reasons, which I can't get into here. Then the strength tag is something relatively new. And then these are the resource IDs that are best to copy into Notepad so that you don't have to simultaneously have the ship editing window open when you're editing the descriptions and the sprites, as well as all the other relevant files. Basically, you need those 5 resource IDs in an open Notepad window. So you do the descriptions first because they're in the EV data file in this case, because I'm working directly on the EV Classic plug, or rather alternative data files. Another advantage of copying another resource, especially the most recent one, is that your IDs will all be relatively predictable. If you keep copying through all of the resources, generally you'll get the correct numbers. There are some exceptions, but generally that works pretty well. So we do the escort ID the same way. Copy the gunboat and paste that in, and it's in exactly the right place. So change the name, change the description, and the descriptions are done. From here we save, and then we go to the graphics data file.